Al Jazeera Podcasts.
Today, inside the chaos of surviving back-to-back hurricanes.
I knew that everything in my house was going to be destroyed. And it was.
How do you find the strength to stay and rebuild when the next storm could be around the corner? I'm Malika Bilal, and this is The Take.
This is a very strange day. This is the day after the hurricane, after the second hurricane. We've had 2 hurricanes in the last 2 weeks, and they've hit us back to back.
You might recognize this person. This is Natasha Del Toro. She's an award-winning journalist, and once in a while, she even guest hosts this show.
Hi, Malika. It's nice to talk to you. It's nice to finally feel like I'm out of harm's way because these last 2 weeks have been crazy.
Today's episode is a little different. Between power outages, searching for gas, and just trying to stay safe, Natasha's been living in survival mode. So she couldn't sit down for a formal interview with us. Instead, she shared her experience with us in real time and sent us videos and voice memos. They give us an unfiltered look at what the past few weeks have been like for her and her community.
It is very strange to be on this side of the microphone. This is not the usual side that I'm on. I'm usually on the side where I'm asking questions. And so it's a very strange feeling to be on the other end of this situation, being the one to answer questions about something that has happened to me and something that's happened to my family. So here I am.
The storm surge, the relentless rains, flooding homes along Florida's coast. The 200-kilometer-an-hour winds as Helene's furious Category 4 power slammed into the Big Bend area.
Natasha lives in Tampa, Florida. When Hurricane Helene made landfall, she was in New York for the Emmys, where her work had been nominated for an award.
And on September 26th, I was in New York, and I was having a meal with a friend, with an old friend, and I got a call from my dad saying that we needed Miles, my partner, to wake up. He was sleeping. He was at home sleeping, getting ready for work the next day. And I didn't understand what was going on, but he said that there was water that was rising. I also started getting photos from neighbors who were showing me how my car was underwater. I could see my house and the water was starting to rise up to the door of my house. And so I'm just at a restaurant with a friend in New York, and I'm starting to see these images, and I had no idea that this was happening. We knew that there was a hurricane, but it hadn't hit Tampa. There was no rain. There was hardly any wind. So we were not expecting there to be this tremendous storm surge. It caught everybody completely off guard.
This morning, a monster storm unleashing its fury overnight on Florida's Gulf Coast. Hurricane Helene, a catastrophic Category 4, showing no mercy, destroying property, flooding hotel lobbies, businesses, and homes, and submerging vehicles in oceans of water.
Natasha started calling her partner Miles, calling and calling until he woke up.
And he sprung into action. I mean, I could hear him panicking, there's water, describing to me how he needed to very quickly start to try to save whatever he could. And he was so anxious and scared, and at the same time was in such a rush to start putting things as high up as he could.
As Miles was frantically trying to save all of their things, Natasha was in a group chat with her neighbors, watching them describe the water getting higher and higher.
And he's a first responder himself, and he said, there's no way that I'm going to leave the house. This is how people die. So he actually spent the night floating around on a couch. And he took a video of the water, this disgusting brown toxic storm water. It had risen up about 3 feet, and he was floating around on the sofa all night long, and he couldn't get out. And when I saw that video, I haven't really had a lot of time in these last 2 weeks to even process everything that has happened. Because from that moment until now, I haven't had an opportunity to really stop. I didn't sleep at all that night. I was so worried about him. I was so worried about my house. I was worried about my parents who lived down the street and my cat.
Natasha got on the first flight to Tampa and found the city completely unrecognizable.
Aerial footage posted by the mayor of Tampa shows extensive damage from Helene in the Davis Islands neighborhood and waterfront areas. The mayor saying the National Guard has been activated to assist with rescue efforts.
The water had receded, and that's when the recovery process started, the cleanup process. You know, people started taking all of their belongings that had been ruined by this disgusting stormwater and putting it onto the curb. My neighbors, who I would wave to every day and who I really like, really nice people, like their whole lives. It's been really sad to see how everybody's lives have been upended in this way. Hard to describe all of the emotions.
Natasha still hadn't even seen her own house. And even with the photos and videos Miles had sent her, she wasn't really prepared for what she was walking into.
I mean, the structure's there, but it's damaged, and everything that makes it your home is destroyed. All of my furniture, anything that came in contact with that water had to be thrown out, and the walls had to be cut out to try to stop the mold from growing. So from that moment forward, you know, we didn't have a lot of time, but I had to go through the things that were remaining, the few things that I could keep, like some of the clothes. There were things that Miles had saved for me, thank God.
Natasha says for the first few days, she felt paralyzed, in disbelief about the amount of damage and the work that lay ahead of them.
It's like a forced move. You know, everybody knows how unpleasant it is to move, and to have to do it in such a way where you don't have a lot of time. You just have to put things out into the curb, things that you care about, things that you chose for your home to make it look nice, to make it feel like a home. We were pushing to get through to this finish line. We were so wiped out. And I'm on the couch in my parents' house, which is where we're now staying. We had to evacuate my home. We don't have a home anymore. But I was on the couch on a Saturday evening, and I get a text message from a friend of mine in Miami who then tells me that another hurricane is forming in the Gulf. And I was in disbelief. I was like, what do you mean another hurricane is forming in the Gulf? And so we turn on the news and we start to see what is the beginnings of Hurricane Milton in the Gulf of Mexico.
After the break, more with Natasha.
So we just went through Hurricane Helene, and catastrophic damage, unlike anything anybody here has seen with the storm surge. And the next thing you know, we're now facing the prospect of another major hurricane coming to hit the same area.
Hurricane Helene took them by surprise. But because of Tampa's location, Hurricane Milton was expected to be even more destructive.
Hurricane Milton is barreling toward Florida's Gulf Coast, directly in its current path, the Tampa Bay metropolitan area, home to 3.1 million people.
Rescue workers are especially concerned about an expected storm surge of 3.5 meters.
In a way, I thought, well, we have nothing really left to lose in my house because that's already been destroyed. Then the process really was to try and prepare my parents' house. So what do? We start moving all of our things, everything that could get ruined. Miles goes into overdrive again. I go into overdrive, moving all of the things to protect their belongings and their things and our remaining things that are in garbage bags. So we move everything up. We don't have a lot of time really because this storm is intensifying. It's growing quickly into a monster storm that was directly targeting Tampa Bay.
Just an incredible hurricane. It has dropped 50 millibars in 10 hours. I apologize. This is just horrific.
If you're in the Tampa Bay area, you need to evacuate. If they have called for your evacuation order, I beg you, I implore you to evacuate.
On Wednesday, Hurricane Milton made landfall. Natasha and her family evacuated. They were riding out the storm in a hotel.
It was a miracle that I found a hotel for me and my family because everything was booked. We also didn't have a car. We had a rental car to leave, but we don't have a lot of gas. Fuel had run out in most gas stations here, so we couldn't go very far. And we're just here waiting. And I do suspect it's going to be a long night.
And it was a long night. Like most nights over the last couple of weeks, Natasha barely slept.
The winds were whipping around, and the rain was coming down really, really strongly. And of course, there were these tornadoes, these enormous tornadoes. But these were like Kansas tornadoes. They were huge, and they ended up killing several people. And that's very unusual for Florida. You don't really see tornadoes of that size. But then that really speaks to just how powerful the storm was and how much energy was being sort of swept up in this storm.
By Thursday morning, things were quieter, and a clearer picture started to emerge of what had happened the night before.
After Hurricane Milton barreled across Florida, spawning deadly tornadoes, rescue crews waded through flooded streets to check homes and assist residents.
The storm was significant, but thankfully this was not the worst-case scenario.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said while the storm wasn't as bad as feared, there was still widespread damage. At least 16 people were killed in the tornadoes, and more than 3 million homes and businesses had been left without power. The storm destroyed homes in its path, toppled trees, and left roads covered in debris.
We found a lot of trees that were down, a lot of branches, and there was still all of this debris from Hurricane Helene. So there were mattresses that were in the middle of the road. There was still furniture. There's like pieces of wood, cabinets, you name it, all along the side of the road. My neighborhood looks pretty rough right now, but fortunately, we didn't really get the storm surge. And that was only because we got lucky.
Some neighborhoods experienced significant flooding, but the Tampa Bay area appeared to have escaped the storm surge that had prompted the most dire warnings.
We got lucky this time. We didn't have the flooding and the storm surge that was predicted. So we still have a house. Our luck was somebody else's misfortune, and I recognize that. And I'm sorry for the people down south that are dealing with the aftermath right now. And this is the backyard. This is definitely a mess. What is it going to take to rebuild? It's going to take a lot of time, a lot of patience, and a lot of money. I mean, we have insurance. I don't know what our insurance is actually going to cover of all of this. I imagine it's going to take many, many months to rebuild my home, and it's going to be the same for all of the people in my neighborhood and in other cities and towns in the west coast of Florida who were affected by the hurricanes. Again, I can't even imagine people who don't have families to stay with. I don't know what they do, because throughout all of this, you have to keep paying your mortgage. And there are going to be so many people filing insurance claims in the state of Florida. I have no idea what they're going to be able to pay out. I know it's going to be a very long process, and it's going to be a fight to get the insurance to make us whole. And, you know, people that don't have jobs or people that don't have support, I don't know what they do. I don't know how you can recover from this. There's a lot of people that are leaving my neighborhood, and I imagine that want to leave Florida. Because here's the thing, we can take all the steps to rebuild, but what happens next hurricane season when another storm comes along and floods the neighborhood all over again? You know, what happens when another Category 5 hurricane comes and blows the roof off? I love Florida. It's a beautiful state. I love the water and the blue skies. In fact, today is such a beautiful day. It's crazy to think that just yesterday there was a Category 5 storm brewing in the Gulf, and that made its way to, you know, Tampa. But I just can't imagine if, you know, as climate change creates these storms, making them much more intense, I can't imagine, you know, that people are going to want to keep living here. It's odd that we have leadership in this state that won't allow the terms climate change in official documents. They're not even acknowledging the problem. How can you begin to fix the problem if you don't call it by its name? You know, and it's clear, the science is clear, the waters are getting warmer, and that is contributing to the size of these storms. It's contributing to the intensity and the strength of these storms. You know, when we talk about climate refugees, you're not necessarily thinking of Florida. And yet this is ground zero for a lot of the major storms that are happening. You know, this and other places in the southeast of the United States. I've never been through anything like this before in my life, and I don't wish it on anyone. We've made it. I think we've made it through the worst of it. Let's just hope there's not another storm around the corner, because it's still hurricane season. Still hurricane season for a few more weeks. So crossing my fingers that that is the last of it.
And that's The Take. If you want to watch more episodes like these, let us know in the comments down below, or give this episode a thumbs up. And remember to subscribe to the Al Jazeera English channel here on YouTube.